Alrighty. Alrighty, let's get started with our questions. So starting off with your guys' experience at De Anza, what is something that you guys wish you had done differently while you were still at De Anza?
I can go first. Something I wish I'd done differently was I I wish that I hadn't. I wish I wasn't so hesitant in the beginning to get involved because I was really, scared that I wouldn't be able to manage, like my studies and any other like extracurricular I wanted to do. Like coming right out of high school, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to handle all this, but I wish I'd gotten involved sooner, like started going to professors' office hours, like building that rapport between them and just getting involved on campus. So I wish I'd done that sooner.
I can go next. I agree with Ananya. But as well as I wish I started looking for opportunities earlier. I technically transferred into De Anza like right before the pandemic hit. And so I was like, and that time was like really chaotic. I'm sure it was for everyone. And so I didn't really look for opportunities. I was just like kind of trying to survive through community college, but definitely start early. Community college students have a lot to sell to companies, especially if you're looking for internships. You're a prime person to get an opportunity because you can work part-time at a company of your choosing and handle school. So definitely sell yourself, don't sell yourself short, believe in yourself, and definitely look for opportunities early.
Something that I wish I had done differently was get more involved in campus activities and talk to people in my classes. I was someone who just went to class and then just left campus right away because I didn't have too many friends. And the friends that I made were people who came to me, but I regret not talking to people more and being more outgoing.
Alrighty, ladies. Thank you guys so much for sharing. Looks like for us who are still here, we have to we have to make the best out of our time. Moving on to the application process. What do you think was the strongest part of your application?
I can go first. I would definitely say my essays. I started my essays at the beginning of the summer before fall that you apply. And I definitely poured my blood, sweat, and tears into those babies. I sent them out to literally everyone I could get my hands on, current students at the UCs, applications like admissions counselors, family, friends, literally everyone, the meanest people I knew, because I knew that they were going to tear my essays apart. Because, and this is the most important thing I'm going to say, you have to answer the question very specifically. Do not, and I know like I made the previous mistake my senior year of high school where I just wrote like a really sob story, but I didn't show any growth. I just wrote a really sad story. But you need to answer the question directly and you incorporate parts of yourself. And so I worked really hard at that to really show and explain my grades, my GPA, my choices, my classes, things like that, and to really incorporate who I was rather than just having them read a piece of paper and assume who I was. So definitely take advantage of people, ask for help. I definitely asked for a lot of help and I forced a lot of admissions counselors to deal with me. So definitely badger them. That's also my biggest piece of advice.
Yeah, I definitely agree. My essays were my biggest, like the strongest part. And like Mehul said, like you need to answer the question, but also incorporate yourself into the answer. So like an important thing is it's like in these essays, you need to answer the question, talk about yourself in like a non-boasting way, and also show your growth. Like these are like the three important, parts that I think are necessary for this application or like the essay. And I think that's what I did. I tried my best at it. It probably was not my best piece of work ever, but you know what? I'm here, so it worked.
I have a similar opinion. I think my strongest part was having a real, um, I wouldn't say passion, because that's like overused word, but I have a very strong interest in my major. And when you read my essay, you could really tell that this is the major I want to do, and this is the school. And UC Irvine specifically had a major psychological science, which is different from other schools. They only have psychology. Psychological science is more focused on social psychology and applied science. And that's exactly like the perfect major for me. So the schools want to see students apply who actually want to go there. That's called their yield rate. They want to have a high yield. So if you show a strong interest in the school and your major, and you show the things that you've done to support your argument of why I should go here, then they will be more likely to accept you, I believe.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Moving on. How many schools do you think people should apply to?
I'd say like 10 max, and that's being like that's me being like very like specific. So I was in your place once, and we also had the transfer panels. Ananya and I were like senior mentors in this program, and I remember students coming back who went to Stanford or go to Stanford, go to UCLA, and they would say like around 10, and 10 is like a pretty high number. They usually said like less, I'm definitely sure. I personally applied to 8 schools. You need to know specifically what college you're applying to and why you want to go there, because this is not the senior year of high school all over again. This is like you transferring, and it needs to be super specific. Just like Yvonne said, she knew why she wanted to take that major to that specific school, and she had her specific niche interests for that. So you need to write out like, what am I actually interested in, and what do I need from a school, and what do I want to see from a school? For me, I wanted to be in California, so that narrowed it down a lot because I have younger siblings. So definitely make sure you see like what you need from a school and what you're interested in, and then you want to have your safeties, your like reaches, and then the ones that you know like for sure are like a good healthy middle range. So safeties, that's up to you to decide what is a safety, but you decide a couple of safeties, 2, 3, your middle range, 3, 4 amount of schools, and then your reaches. So definitely take the time out to do that before you even start your application process.
Yeah, I like completely agree with every word that came out of Mehul's mouth. Totally agree 100%. Yeah, definitely do your research because I know that I applied to some schools that were my reach schools, and I knew for a fact that even if I did get into that school, I wouldn't want to go there because of you need to think about like where like location is also important factor. Like you may think like, oh, like this school has like a program that I want to, but I'm thinking like if it's in a place that you don't like, there's a lot of like these tiny factors that people don't really think about. They seem like really, they don't really seem like the best aspect, but it's definitely something that you want to think about. And also financial aid, like is the school going to give you scholarships or any type of financial aid at all? You need to really do like your research. But yeah, I agree. Definitely think about safety schools. This is when you would reach out to like guidance counselors or even like ask other students. Really take the time out and sit with them. That's what I did. I asked my guidance counselor like if I were to apply right now, what are like my good safety schools or potential schools that, you know, I could go to. So that's definitely that. And yeah, I think just do really a lot of research into where you want to apply.
I think everyone should have the safety, middle, and reach schools. That's a good starting point. I personally applied to 3 schools. I applied to UCI, Santa Barbara, and UCLA. And I'd say I didn't really want to go to UCLA because I knew I didn't love the location, but I probably applied there to like test my power. By the way, I didn't get in, but I knew that UCI and UCSB had the programs that I want. And again, I'm emphasizing the program itself. So even if you like a school, but they don't have the major that you want to do, then I don't recommend applying there, even though the school is nice. So starting with the three categories, you don't have to apply to a lot. I think applications take a long time. Another school is like adding to your application list is just like more stress if you're not gonna really go there. And of course, it costs money. And when you have a lot of schools to decide between, that could also be hard for you. But also, if you visit the campus, I think getting a campus vibe is important as well. So some schools like UC Irvine, it's really big. There's a lot of walking and there's a park in the middle. I love that park. UCSC is like a whole forest. It's so different. UC Berkeley is like in the middle of like a very urban city area. And you know, all the schools are different. I highly recommend visiting the schools if you're particular about the campus atmosphere and the location.
Alrighty, thank you guys so much for your very detailed responses. Alrighty, so this is kind of a vague question, so you could kind of go, you could kind of talk about whatever comes to mind. But what are your main, or what are your main tips for people applying to universities? So this could be like different categories, if you wish, like financial aid or anything that you guys feel strongly about that you guys would like to share with us.
I can go first. I would say we've said a lot. So research, look into financial aid, visit the schools, get started early. That's my biggest thing. It will save blood, sweat, and tears and energy for your like second or whatever year, the year that you're applying to transfer. Because if you start early, you finish early, and then you can just chill. You submit the applications when you need it, when you need to, but you don't need to stress because the year that you transfer is when you take, technically that's when you take like a little bit of a harder load or like a little bit tougher classes, or you have other extracurricular activities like a job or other responsibilities. So it really takes a load off if you just start early. Also, in terms of doing research, I would reach out to students who go to the school that you want to go to in the same major, who are doing things that you are interested in, and just talk to them, ask them for advice, ask them to read over your essay. It literally does not hurt. And if they're transfer students, they are more than happy to read your stuff and help you. Me personally, I love it when people reach out to me because I would love to see anyone in your place succeed, especially as a fellow transfer student. So do your research on people as well. Go to LinkedIn, type in the school, type in De Anza within that, and De Anza students will definitely help you. Like transfer students are very, very nice people. So definitely take advantage of that.
I can go next. I think one tip is you may start feeling really like stressed about this whole process and you may feel like really overwhelmed, but just like relax, just take a minute, just take a little breather, you know, and also just kind of reward yourself like, hey, you're transferring, like this is like a really big deal. You're probably going to move away from like your place or wherever it's going to be a lot of big changes in your life. But I think one tip is just to kind of just take a couple deep breaths, relax a little, treat yourself, take one like a break day, and just like acknowledge the fact that you're doing this. Like it's happening. You're gonna be applying to schools. It's gonna be scary. You're gonna feel nervous, but in the end, it's all gonna work out. So that's just a little tip. Like just congratulate yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back that you're doing this.
I agree with Ananya. It can be a really stressful time, but I know probably a lot of transfer students, we have obstacles. For example, you're a first generation college student, you don't have like your parents or people in your family who can help you. And I'm a first generation student, plus I'm an older sister, and I always help my sister, but I didn't have an older sister to like ask for help about college and all that stuff. So ask for help from people. All the mentors here will help you. The panelists will help you, and reach out to people, and don't do it alone, because there's a lot of people who are willing to help. So please reach out.
Thank you guys so much. Moving on to after transferring. If any of you did research or an internship, how easy was it to get into research or the internships as a transfer student?
I can go first. I might be the most research experienced person. I'm currently a researcher at a market research firm. So I knew it was what I wanted to do as a career. So that's why, as a transfer student, the first thing I did was I wanted to research with a professor. And when I was at Anza, I didn't even know that undergraduate students could do research with a professor. And I'll explain it quickly for people who don't know. So basically, all the professors at the UCs, they're professors who teach and do research, or professors who just do research. So there will have those professors and researchers have labs in which they need undergraduate students to help them do their work. And their work is running experiments and then publishing papers for the university. That's like part of their job. So when you take a professor's class, you can find out more about their research, or just look at their articles that they've published before online. And if you're interested in that experiment or that research area, you can reach out to that professor, see if they're accepting research assistants, and you can get like half a class credit for participating in the research. And sometimes they'll give you a grade for it so that you can get credits as a class. But having no research experience, I think I was pretty lucky, because my first research advisor, he had just arrived to UCI just like I did, and he didn't have any research assistants, and he studied something very specific that no one else was really as interested in. He studies evolutionary psychology. So the more popular psychology areas are like clinical psychology and doing stuff with like depression, anxiety. But since my research interests aligned with his, and since his lab didn't have any research assistants yet, I think it was relatively easy because I was really lucky. But if you'd like to have a research position, I would say anyone can do it. And professors are looking for students who don't have experience and do have experience. You'll just be doing different tasks. And I love doing research. I think my answer is too long, but yes, do reach out to me if you're interested in research, because I could talk like for hours about it, and I really want to help. So let me know.
I can go next. So I currently do research at the UCSD Design Lab. So it's a little bit specific, but because I'm going to UX design, the design lab is like the main lab that is like the most beneficial for my major. And so under the design lab, there's different sprints and different projects that you can sign up for. So definitely as a transfer student, it can feel like everyone already knows what they're doing. And you can feel like a lot of conflicting feelings at that time. But I promise you, no one knows what they're doing. You just need to apply yourself and do your own research. So before I came to UCSD, I wrote out all the different opportunities I wanted to be part of. And I did my research beforehand. So clubs, places I wanted to visit, like every single thing. And I knew that I wanted to join the design lab first and foremost. So I was on the website every single day. I joined different Discord groups because there's always opportunities being posted on Discord groups, as well as doing your like research on professors who have the different research labs or research opportunities, and definitely contact professors beforehand if you're interested in their research, or just I always would email those who are in charge and like, hey, do you have any positions? I'm interested. I'm a transfer student. I'm hardworking. Things like that. I know personally my roommate, she's a bio major, and there's like a lot of bio labs at UCSD. So she applied for them, as same thing I did. We both had interviews, and then you go through the process and you are chosen or not. But definitely just my biggest tip is like really apply yourself in doing the research for things that you want to get to be part of. And definitely just like really pursue it if you really want to join it.
I'm not doing a research or internship, but hopefully soon. But something I actually started looking for internships before I joined Davis. Um, there's most likely an internship or like internship and career center on your campus. Utilize that. I spent half an hour with a counselor talking about like different internships, and I got a lot of great links. So definitely, talk to them. They're very helpful. If you tell them that you're a transfer student, I felt like they're more willing to help. Definitely, if you're going into research or trying to look for an internship, definitely ask if there's any prerequisites or like if there's a GPA, requirement. Because as a transfer student, your GPA would be 0 at your school, I'm assuming, that you transferred to. So definitely, that's another tip. But yeah, look at the opportunity. There's like a lot of um, resources at your school, most likely. Well, there should be for internships and research. So definitely go check those out.
Alrighty, thank you so much for sharing your experiences. Moving on, I'm sure you guys could go on and on about how much you guys love Davis or San Diego or Irvine, but we're hoping you guys could show us some of the ugly side as well. So, what is your least favorite thing about your transfer university? Nanya's like, I don't have one.
No, I do. I have a list. No, I'm kidding. I don't have a list. Um, it's really tiny, but Davis has a lot of construction going on. Love that for us. So there's always construction going on, but hopefully it will be done soon because they look like they're wrapping up. Bless. Yeah, there's a lot of TikToks. It's crazy. Um, because Davis, it's like a very walking, biking, bus friendly campus. The buses always run late, so that's very fun. Um, and I'm from the Bay Area, so it's always 10 degrees hotter here than it is from the Bay Area, and always 10 degrees colder than it is in the Bay Area. So that's great. Besides that, I'm great.
I can go next. Um, I'd say there's a lot of good things about SD. Like I'm freaking obsessed with my choice. I'm really happy here. I love the university. And I would say this could be a con anywhere you go, that it's tough to make friends in college, period. Like no matter where you go. So definitely if it can be uncomfortable, you can be outside of your comfort zone, but really push yourself to make friends and like join clubs and just meet people, because as a transfer student, it can be tough to like kind of integrate yourself in society, and it's just hard making friends, honestly. I'm sure it's tough making friends online. I know that Danza's online, I think, right? Or is it hybrid? Yeah, okay, it's online. It's tough making friends online, but in person, I promise you, it's tough too. And people don't like to talk to people that they don't know. So really put yourself forward, put yourself out there, make friends. Also, I would say the food here is not the best on campus. Outside campus, though, amazing food, amazing seafood. But just expect campus food and you will get campus food. Yeah.
I don't have any complaints that are like unique to UC Irvine itself. Like parking is expensive everywhere. I don't know. I just can't think of anything just that only UCI has that's like bad, to be honest. So if I think of one, I can share it later, but I don't have one right now.
Alrighty, no worries. Moving on to college culture. You guys, I know you guys already kind of talked about this a little bit, but what was it like adjusting to your transfer university, and how much of an adjustment was it?
I can go first. So I think I've adjusted so far. Like I'm pretty settled now. Um, and I'm like glad about that. But I think one big adjustment was moving away from home. I lived in the Bay Area for literally my whole life, and then even though Davis is like 2 hours away from where I live, like it's still a huge change. I'm living, I have a roommate, but I'm like living by myself. I'm in an apartment. Like I have to figure out all this stuff now that I kind of took for granted, unfortunately. So that was like big, and going to like a different school that's not Dianza, because I was like just getting comfortable at Dianza, and all of a sudden like everything just changed. So I think that was my biggest adjustment, like moving away. And plus like Davis is like a different area compared to the Bay Area. It's very like there's a lot of farms, we have cows on campus. So compared to the Bay Area, we're just like cars, tall buildings. Here it's just open land, but it's great. So there's a lot of adjusting.
I can go next. I would say it was actually a really smooth transition and adjustment. Like I adjusted really quickly. One, well, like luckily I've had like an experience of living away from home. I went to school in LA, so and I like had to live with 3 people in a really small room. So never get a triple. That's my advice there. But I got really lucky and I have the most amazing roommates. And we live in an apartment. So it's definitely like it's really nice to have a really comfortable space that you can call like home, when you come back from your classes. Socially, I would say, and like that's everywhere. I think it's tough to make friends sometimes. Regardless, I feel like because of the pandemic, it's like everyone kind of forgot how to socialize and how to talk to people. And so being reintroduced to society has been interesting, but luckily like all the transfers live together. So like basically everyone I meet, I'm like, hey, like, oh, I'm a third year, I just transferred. And they're like, oh, me too. And I'm like, what? And also there's like 90% of the people here are from the Bay Area. So if you're from the Bay Area, you like didn't go far from home. So that's always a plus too. Um, Geographically, I love it. The beach is literally a mile away. The weather here is great. It is a bit finicky because sometimes it's like freezing and then sometimes it's 80 degrees and like clear skies and it's a perfect day for the beach, but you're really close to the beach, so that's awesome. Academically, I would definitely say Dianza is really good at preparing you because we're on the quarter system. So here at SD, it's a quarter system as well, and most community college students, that their adjustment is the semester to quarter system, and that always messes them up. But luckily, like at Dianza, I also had part-time jobs, personal like family responsibilities, volunteering, and a full like 6 load of classes every quarter. So I could adjust very quickly to like a tougher kind of academic pressure. So I would definitely say all around, I adjusted pretty quickly.
I would say I had a big adjustment um, back here, I was living in my hometown with my family. Just being very comfortable. I had a car and part-time jobs, just driving to school, doing my own thing. And then when I got to UC Irvine, I was living in student housing and I had a roommate who wasn't a good fit with me. And I remember I would get bored sometimes and I would just like, it might be just me and my roommate. I didn't get a chance to join any clubs yet because I was only actually at Irvine for 6 months and then I had to move back because of the pandemic. So based on my 6 months there, the first 2 months were pretty hard because it was a really big adjustment. And I feel like in Dienta, I really hustled a lot and kept myself busy. But at UC Irvine, there was a lot of quiet. And my sister is like my best friend. And I would try to like FaceTime her a lot, but she wouldn't always be available. So I also share the same experience of it's hard to make friends, but if you join a club or something, I ended up going to the recreational center a lot to work out, and I also did Muay Thai there. So that kept me busy. Um, but it was also fun to do my own thing and be away from my family. I think it's part of growing up. I think everyone should have a shock like that in their life. Yeah, it sounds scary, but I think it's a good experience for all students to have like a shock or experience a whole different living situation, a different city. UC Irvine isn't too different from the Bay Area. The weather is a little warmer, but it's still in the suburbs and it's actually really nice. There's a lot of Asian people around, if that's where you're comfortable. um, and making friends, I actually never got over that because I was only there for 6 months. But I have a few friends and they're mostly from my research labs. So I would say if you find something that you can have as like your main thing to keep you busy, whether it's a club that you go to consistently, that'll help with your adjustment.
Thank you so much. We're all looking forward to that shock in our lives. Moving on. In what ways did your university help you integrate into the student body as a transfer student? Something that I've heard of is I believe you guys have orientations. Um, so, yeah, sorry, that was just my own comment, but yeah, go ahead.
So I can go first. I would say this is a side note, but it has to do with transfer resources. I would say also when you're doing your research, look at the schools and the transfer resources they have. That also is a really big factor. But I would say one, all the transfers live in the same area. So like you're gonna be around other transfers, which is really nice because sometimes like imposter syndrome creeps up and like you feel uncomfortable around those who like already go to that school and you're like, oh dang, like it just feels off. It's not the funnest feeling. But yeah, that's the first thing. You're surrounded by transfers, which is awesome. Two, they have really good transfer resources. We have a peer, it's called the Triton Transfer Center. And they have like peer mentors, they have different resources. They always have like workshops and things like that. So that's really nice. I remember I signed up to have a peer mentor through the transfer center as well as through my specific college. So each of the different colleges here with for UCSD, they have a peer mentor program. So you can definitely sign up for that. And what else? Yeah, the orientation for me at least was a bust. Like it's orientation, and it was online for us. So it was just like everyone with their cameras off, basically just being forced to be there. I did make one friend though, so that was a win for me. But I would say definitely there's going to be pros and cons with the transfer resources, regardless of what university you attend. You just got to see for yourself which pros outweigh the cons for the university you attend. Yeah.
Yeah, for transfers, like we have transfer housing at Davis, so everybody in my like the three buildings that surround this my building are all transfers. Our orientation was in person, so and it was like there were like so many people, but unfortunately the number of people like heavily decreased as the days went on, but my orientation group were still pretty tight, which I was like really surprised about. But orientation was great. We have at Davis, we have the Transfer and Reentry Center, which they send out weekly emails with like updates about transfer students and about like resources. And we also have the Office of the Transfer Student Representative within like student government that does a lot of like advocating for transfer students. So we just have a lot of different resources. Some of them may or may not be tailored towards transfer students, but we do have a lot. But yeah.
For transfer resources, the only thing I remember participating in is the transfer orientation, which was a 2-day overnight orientation, but it was optional. So if your transfer orientation is optional, I would recommend going because it's a really great starting point. They also have like panels like this, workshops where you get to meet professors, ask questions, and also meet other students who are going to be in your major. You get a tour of the campus so that on the first day of school, you're not like super lost and you can still like stay in contact with your transfer leaders, the mentors who are like leading your orientation group. And overall, it was really fun. Like at night you play games. There's sort of like a party dance thing event. And I met really cool people there. So I would recommend going to the orientation if like you already don't have friends there and you don't know anything about the school. The orientation will give you like a really huge advantage.
Alrighty, thank you, ladies. Last question before we move on to the chat questions. What is something you think international students should know?
I would say, just from my research, obviously I'm not the subject matter person that you should listen to. But the requirements for international students are different. You need to also consider financial aid if you're an international student. So definitely look at the academic requirements, definitely pay attention to the financial aid requirements. And also look at the programs that schools offer, because a lot of schools have different international student programs that help transition a little bit better, help you grow a little community for yourself. But definitely my biggest thing is just do your research, because there are a lot of like hidden details throughout this process that make it really difficult, regardless if you're an international student or not. And I know it's probably about 10 times harder being an international student. So definitely ask for help, do your research, and definitely just pay attention to the small details.
Yeah, I agree. Do a lot of research. I know that I know that all the UC campuses have something called International House, which I think is like a center that gives out resources for international students. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of like the requirements are different. Definitely do your research. Definitely look into financial aid. Um, and yeah, I think it is most of what Mehul said. Yeah.
I don't have too much to add. But I do know that UC Irvine in particular has a lot of international students. So they seem to be doing great because there's so many of them. So don't be too worried.
Oh, I'd also want to add, I know a lot of international students at Anza had troubles with their high school transcripts. So definitely figure that out quickly. So get in contact with your high school if need be. And also because one of their UC requirements is the language requirement where you like take a different language that's not your mother tongue for a year. And I know a lot of high schools internationally just don't, they speak in another language, they don't speak in English, so that can also satisfy that requirement. So make sure that your transcript is delivered on time and translates correctly, because I know a lot of people ran into that problem.
Alrighty, thank you guys so much. Moving on to chat questions. We have a question from Jessica in the chat. How are the classes different from community college? Are they more strict?
I can answer that question. At De Anza, you'll most likely be doing a lot of your lower division classes, like your general education, and maybe some upper division classes, but it's mostly going to be like your GEs, and your lower division. But like right now at Davis, I'm taking all of my upper division courses, a lot of my major courses. And personally, for me, I would say that the classes are a little more stricter because maybe just my poli-sci classes at De Anza were, easier. They were more relaxed. I knew the professors a lot better. But yeah, they're a little strict, but they're not like I'm not like super stressed out about them, which is good. Um, but and something to like combat, maybe like combat the feel if you come here, if you go to your transfer university and realize like, oh, these classes are more difficult, definitely go to your professor's office hours, go to your TA's office hours. I have TAs in like all three of my classes, so and they're all really helpful and they always have office hours. So definitely go reach out to your professor. Like vocalize the fact that you're having a hard time because everyone is there to help you. So yeah.
Yeah, to add on to that, like when you go to your transfer university, you're basically just taking concentrated classes in your specific major. At De Anza, you're going to be like taking linguistics or geography or geology. I took like the randomest classes, but you go to your transfer university and you're taking operatives. Like I'm going to take a class that's like cyborgs and the future. Like I'm not taking any other GEs anymore. I'm only taking cog sci classes, which is specific to UCSD actually, that like you only take cog sci classes, but that's a different thing. Also, just like Ananya said, all your classes basically are going to have TAs. So that's also something to get used to. They're going to be larger at De Anza, but like there's only like 30 people max, sometimes like 40. Here it's like lectures of 300. So you definitely have to just get comfortable with the fact that like you're gonna be in bigger classes, you're gonna have to do the work to reach out to TAs and professors yourself. It's not necessarily gonna be as easy as it was before to get in contact with someone if you have a question. It's a lot more independent, I would say, and responsibility on yourself.
I totally echo what the other panelists said. As I can't think of anything new that's different, that wasn't already mentioned, but I don't think the classes were more strict. Teachers don't like, I don't think, there's maybe some do. Professors never want to like fail students or just leave students behind. I think that makes them look bad, and they have their own reviews and stuff. So their job is to teach students and help students. So I don't think they're more strict. Like if there's a deadline and you can't make the deadline, I think most teachers would grant an extension. Um, so I wouldn't be too worried about strict professors based on my experience, by the way.
Alrighty, moving on, we have a question from Jasmine. Is graduating in 2 years from the UC very achievable? Are there any stressful moments where you might need to spend a third year at a UC?
I guess I'll go. You know, I mean, like just off the bat, like if you do spend like an extra quarter or 2 quarters at your transfer university, honestly, I think that's okay if you're like, financially able to, because in the end, like, you should just take the time and not rush 2 years. Because if you plan, this is also where like planning your classes is really important. Because if you can get everything done comfortably, like done within 2 years, like you should be able to. But there are just some students that, they really want to take their time and not get super stressed out. They may take an extra, couple quarters, but I don't really know a lot of students that take an extra third year. They maybe take like, stay around for like an extra quarter or two. Um, but it is, I mean, yeah, it's achievable. You can do it if you, um, yeah, it's achievable. That was a really bad answer. I'm so sorry, but yeah, you can do it in 2 years.
I would say I'm again not the subject matter expert here because I literally just transferred here. But I'm gonna say controversial opinion. Take your time. Doesn't matter how many years you graduate in. You take your time and see as again if you're financially able to. But it's not the end of the world to like graduate or like after you transfer to graduate after 3 years. If you're financially able to, definitely. If anything, that gives you also more time to like have internships during the summer, to like do more research, to get more opportunities. I know, for an example, one of the programs here is like if you are a psych major, especially in a clinical psych, you do like another year and you get your MS with your bachelor's. So it's like there's different opportunities. And I really like wouldn't kill yourself over trying to get down to like 2 years. It's totally doable. Again, look at the graduation rates for the UCs because it's they are public universities. Everything is data collected. So look at the data, look at the graduation years, look at for your major specifically. I know that they offer that at like specific universities. I know if you go to Davis's site specifically, you can look at the major and you can look at the graduation rates for transfers for each graduating year. So definitely do your research and plan your classes. But do not kill yourself to like get it down to a very specific time. It's okay. You are on your own path.
I think to answer this question, you'd have to consider your own situation. How many classes have you done? For example, at De Anza, I didn't finish all the IGETC requirements and I still transferred. So I had to do, some extra classes in the beginning because I was accepted without finishing everything. And some people even have a major and a minor, and they still finish within 4 years or transfer within 2 years. Maybe if you have a double major, a lot of students will take an extra quarter, but I haven't seen anyone like really struggle with finishing on time. At De Anza, if you're not like on the De Anza promise where you don't pay tuition, De Anza you pay per unit, but at the UC you pay a flat rate and you can take as many classes as you want. So I think they kind of encourage you to take more classes and finish on time because of how expensive it is. But yeah, if you have scholarships and are financially able to, that's really cool because then you get to spend more time. And being in college is better than not being in college and having a full-time job and all that stuff. I'm jealous of college students now that I'm no longer one.
Alrighty, moving on. Do they offer online classes as well, or are they limited?
With the second half of the question, like, are they limited? Is that to like limited options? to whoever asked that. Yeah, okay. So I would say for SD, yeah, it can vary. So I know like a lot of my classes are online or sorry, in person. And it doesn't necessarily make sense that like my in-person classes are like the 300 lecture ones and then the online ones are like the smaller ones sometimes. It don't make sense. But a lot of the classes, especially this quarter, went online, and they were all supposed to be in person, but of course with considerations with COVID, and a lot of professors were like, I'm not risking my own health for y'all, so they were like, we're going online. But a lot of them do have hybrid options, so there's definitely a large range of options if you're looking for strictly in person, strictly online. I know a lot of people have also scheduled like, I only want to have class on Mondays and like Thursdays and stuff like that. So there's flexibility if you are in search of that.
Yeah, at Davis, we had like a rule saying, classes that are like under 200 are going to be in person, and a lot of classes that are over 200 were going to be online. But all my classes, all three of my classes, are in person, and luckily they're all like under 100, maybe under 50 students. But my roommate, she's a psych major, and 3 out of 4 of her classes like went online, like they were going to be in person, but because of just like the sheer amount of people that wanted to take that class, it went online. But a lot of our classes are in person at Davis. There's like a really small amount of professors that have online class, or if they are online, it was because they were not forced to, but it was just like a choice that they had. But yeah, a lot of our classes are in person.
Like I said in the chat, I think about 10% of classes are online and like 90% are in person, but also you can enroll in online classes at other UCs, and that's called cross-campus enrollment. So any online class that is offered at a different UC, you can register and just take that class online and have it count towards your degree. Oh, oops. Okay, it's right there. And there's so many more options because it's all open. And it depends on, it basically depends on availability because, of course, the students who already go to that specific UC have priority. But after that, after like an initial period, it opens up to all UC students. So I think that would be really cool if you could take advantage of that. I took an online class where I had other students from other schools joining, but I didn't get the chance to do that myself. So you guys should check it out.
Alrighty, thank you. Moving on to the next question. How does the semester system work?
I can answer that. I went to semester school. So I would definitely say if you it's essentially just like high school, if you have gone to the high school in the United States. But basically it's just a longer stretch of time to take one course basically. With the quarter system, it's just like every 3 months you change classes. So it's like a shorter amount of time to learn the material. It's 12 weeks. You could have 12 every 12 weeks you change classes, and you do that 3 times or 4 times if you take a summer session. But semester, it's I don't know how many months it is actually, but it's like August to December and then January to June. There you go. Yes. And it's just a longer stretch of time to really learn the material. So personally, I really loved the semester system because it's not super rushed. The quarter system, it's like go, go, go. Like every couple of weeks, you have midterms, and you have like basically like 3 midterms and 1 final, and quizzes in between, and it can feel like a lot. But with semester system, it's like maybe 1 midterm, 1 final, couple quizzes between. So you really get the time to learn a lot. And semester systems are basically only at privates. I know 1 or 2 of the UCs off the top of my head. I don't know them, but they do also have the semester system.
To answer your question, yeah, Cal and Merced, I think, are the 2 UCs that do have semester systems, and all the other ones have quarter. I had semester in my high school, and I think I liked it. It was like, I didn't really have an opinion on it, but ever since I came to De Anza, it's weird, but I kind of prefer the quarter system because it could just kind of, once like week 3 hits, everything is just like, it gets super crazy, but in like a good way. But also you're stressed out. So it's really confusing. But I mean, I like the quarter system. If you're, I think De Anza has a quarter system, so when you transfer to a UC, which does have a quarter system, there is actually still an adjustment period uh, that I felt I had. I'm over it, that adjustment period now. But even with the quarter to quarter, it still feels like a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything new to add. Although I will say I prefer the quarter system because I feel like I get to take more classes in areas that I'm interested in. So I would prefer the quarter system, and that's part of why I chose UCI.
Alrighty, thank you guys. Moving on, we have a question from Aston, who's asking, if I finish my major requirements at De Anza, do I still need to enroll for winter and spring?
I don't know if I have an answer, but I think you should reach out to a guidance counselor for that because it just depends on your major, what school you want to go to, how much you've done up to now. So I think I just consult a lot of the guidance counselors at De Anza. They're great, great people. They're really amazing. Um, yeah, or you could just chill, take the quarter off, take a couple classes, take like fun classes during winter and spring if you haven't had the chance to take a break. But yeah, I talked to some guidance counselors about that question.
I have nothing to add.
Okay. Um,
I know someone who just didn't take any classes. They're just chilling. So I think it's like good if you finish early. But I wouldn't say like don't do anything. Try to prepare yourself for college and get ready to move and all that. So you don't have to take classes. I don't think it's like looked down upon if you don't take any classes.
okay, alrighty. Let's see, moving on. Is it possible to transfer from De Anza to a UC without having completed every single course listed on assist.org for your specific major?
I can go first. I'd say like, yeah, totally. Uh, it, of course, it definitely varies depending on the situation. I obviously am not an admissions counselor. I can't be like, yeah, if you did 5 of them, it's a yes, but if you took 4, it's a no. Like, I can't tell you that. But it's not a make it or break situation if you don't finish them all. I would definitely say get in contact with an admissions counselor at the university that you want to go to and make sure that it's going to be okay for yourself. You don't want to just like throw it in the dark and like kind of hope for the best, especially because you're transferring, and especially you want to go to that university, so you want to make sure it's going to be okay. So definitely, again, badger them and be like, can you look at my transcript? Can you look at this? Are my classes okay? Am I going to be okay? Is it okay if I don't have this, or is it okay? Like, ask many questions, ask for help, definitely get in contact with them. And I would say personally, I didn't finish all of the courses. Actually, oh wait, okay, it changed actually. The agreement changed. So I don't actually know the agreement that I had. I guess I could check, but I've known a lot of people from De Anza who successfully transferred to wherever they wanted to go, and they didn't complete every single course on their agreement. So just make sure you ask, make sure you double check that you're going to be okay, and don't take my word for it.
Yeah, I think, yeah, go talk to an admissions counselor, but also varies on your major, and then it may depends on like what school you want to go to, because I'm pretty sure that each of the UCs have like a slightly different agreement from like De Anza to whatever school. So yeah, badger them. Like, I mean, they're there to help you, so annoy them if it gets your answer. If your answer is good. If your questions, if you're, oh my God, if you get your answers. Yes.
I think I'm not sure if this question is asking if they didn't finish the GE, like the IGETC, or if they didn't finish the major specific ones. Oh, actually, no, it's the major specific ones. So the major specific ones are more important than the GE, definitely. IGETC, the GEs that I didn't do were like the intercultural studies and like the physical education or something like that. So I transferred and graduated without ever doing that. So don't worry about that if you just don't want to do it. But it depends on the major. So if your major is competitive and all the other students who are applying have like done all these classes and they did it early, then you would be at a disadvantage. But if your major isn't very competitive, then I think maybe skipping out on one would be fine. But that's like my personal opinion. Probably things have probably changed. It keeps every year it gets harder to get in. So I transferred in 2019. So it's probably slightly harder now. Oh yeah, why is P even there? Yeah. Just don't do it. Just don't do it.
Alrighty, thank you so much. Question from Van. This question isn't necessarily related to UCs and college life. This is more of a personal question. But how did you come to decide on your major?
Okay, I can go first. I like telling this story. So coming from the Bay Area, I hated STEM, and I was like, screw STEM kids, like I hate STEM, because Silicon Valley really forces it on you to like really love STEM. If you're a STEM major, sorry, I'm also a STEM major, so I can say that now. But basically, I was like liberal arts all the way. Like I'm gonna be, the stereotypical liberal arts major. And so I went to an all women's college, and I was like, period. And then I transferred and I went to De Anza. But at that women's college, I took my first CS class, Python class, and I immediately fell in love with Python. Definitely because it's easy, number one, but number two, the actual like computer science behind it actually very interested me. So when I came to De Anza, I took more, you have to take C++ classes specifically for my major, but like I took C++ classes because I was interested, Java, things like that. Yeah. They may scare you, but you can definitely do it. I wasn't afraid to ask for help. At the beginning I was, TBH, but push past that and ask for help, definitely. But I was a psych major at the time, and I was like, psychology, yes. And the stereotypical psych major like meme is like, you either want to fix yourself or you want to fix someone else. That's just like something people throw around. But I wanted to be a psych major, but then I was like, oh, what if I double major in CS and psych? And I wanted to cry. Sorry, next. And and I was going to double major at De Anza. And then I realized, and I did my research, and I went to a transfer panel where this girl was like, oh, I really like psych. And I looked into it and I decided I would go into cog sci. And I was like, what the heck is cognitive science? And that's basically psychology and computer science put together. It's basically a more computational version of psychology. It goes under psychology as like a subgenre basically, and it's really up and coming. You can go into machine learning, art, AI, design, a lot of different things. You can go into neuroscience, and people go to med school afterwards. So you can utilize that major for a lot of different paths. And so I realized, I was like, wow, psych and comp sci is like amazing. That's exactly what I want to do. And it's very interdisciplinary. So like, you don't even have to like CS. You don't. You can like philosophy and psychology and sociology. And you're like, whoa, I can put that together. And that's cog sci as well. So I realized that was like a very niche and very cool up and coming major. And I was like, I really love that. And I can make money. What? And survive. So I was like, that major. And so that's how I got into it.
Mine's definitely less interesting than Mehul's. I did take a CS course, and unlike Mehul, I absolutely hated it. It was just it's too techy for me. I never liked STEM courses in high school. I hated math. I liked science, I could tolerate it, but not me. But I did love AP Gov. I loved my AP Government class in my high school, and I really like learning about it. And then I also got involved in like the 2020 election by working with a lot of different like voter mobilization organizations. And throughout like that, I realized that the closest thing to what I liked was poli sci, so I joined it. And actually during at my time at De Anza, it just kind of like I was part of the public policy school, which is under Vita. I was an intern, and that kind of, I realized that higher education and like policy work, specifically like community college, higher education, like that is like something that I'm really interested in learning, and definitely, and also like voting, elections, campaigns. So yes, Hefaz, love that for you. I'm very excited. But yeah, so like during my time at De Anza, I kind of figured out what my niche thing was, and now at Davis, I'm gonna carve that similar path out. So thank you. Yeah, that was my story.
So in high school, I actually decided my major when I was a sophomore in high school. My schedule was like pretty full. So I only had like one semester left to do something that I wanted to do. And then my counselor recommended to take one semester of psychology. And after I took that class, I decided to be a psych major and take AP Psych and read more about research and listen to podcasts. And I've always liked talking to people and learning other people's stories. And I thought I wanted to do clinical psychology and help people with their disorders and stuff. So while I was at De Anza, I was going to go into the psychology major for clinical. So at UCI, as I mentioned, there's the psychology major and the psychological science major. So I thought I was going to do psychology. And then I was a behavioral therapist working with children. And I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. And so I decided to not do psychology and switch to psychological science, which is like more research and applied psychology, social psychology. That was what I was like originally interested in. So I chose that major, did research and ran with it. And now I'm a researcher at a independent firm doing research for universities, and we ask questions about people's perceptions of different aspects of like their college experience. We work on stuff with DEI in K-12 schools. So that's what we're investigating, and it relates to my major. and it's awesome. So that's how I got into it. It started in high school. So I'm probably one of the few people who have like stuck with my major and have like just been there this whole time. I think it's because of my like just curiosity of people in general, like thinking about how nosy I am in like people's lives. Like I just want to know everything about everyone. So that's how I chose my major. Thank you for asking that question.
Alrighty, thank you guys for sharing. That was, thank you guys. Yeah, like, oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna avoid from talking more about that, but moving on. So if you guys have any more questions in the chat, feel free to drop them. We still have a little bit of time. I believe we have until 5:30. So yeah, if not, I'll just keep asking questions. Do you recommend doing IGETC or lower division courses more to transfer? Lower, yeah. um, does that question make sense or kind of? Because IGETC are lower division, right? Right. Okay. So I guess the question is just, do you recommend doing, finishing, completing, like perfecting the IGETC before transferring?
No, I am an anti. I'm anti IGETC. It's extra classes and you can do it without, I mean, you can transfer without finishing it. So do the important ones, of course, English, math, science. Science is on the IGETC. There's communications, that's on the IGETC. So definitely finish those important ones. But like PE, unless unless you really want to, it's not required. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend it.
I did everything because I was like, I hated it, but I did everything. I took a PE class just to get my liberal arts like degree from Diaza, and low key not worth it. I hated it. Um, it was a kinesiology class, but yeah, I just did everything because I didn't want to like. I just want to be like super sure, so I was just like, I'm gonna just do everything and suffer. Yeah.
Yeah, I low-key high-key recommend you to get your IGETC because it can definitely can be a hassle. Like when you transfer and you're like, God, like now I have to like take this other class, like when I could just be totally concentrated on my major and like getting that stuff out of the way. I personally I took like 3 PE classes for some reason. I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. Because I didn't check the credit percent like amount. And I kept taking 0.5 credits when I should have just taken one freaking PE class of 1 credit. But I'm no brain cells. So I take like I know dance has a stretching class. I took the stretching class. It's basically a lamer version of yoga, and you have like no final. The final is like this one piece of paper that the professor gives you like at the beginning of the class. You can literally finish the beginning of the class immediately as the canvas opens. So take the stretching class. It's 1 unit. Like that's and the extra credit question is what was wait. Is that academic dishonesty? By the I'm sorry. Move on. Anyways, it's really easy. So just take advantage of it and get your IGETC out of the way. I think it'll just make your life easier. But definitely each situation is unique. So see it as you need to, like if it fits for you. If it doesn't, it's okay.
Alrighty. We have 3 minutes left. So if there's something that you guys would, that like have a burning desire to share with us before we end, feel free to tell us. It could be anything. It could be like the most random advice, very specific advice, maybe a question that we did not cover. So yeah, feel free to share. Any last thoughts?
I have one burning desire. It's that if your parents are already paying for your healthcare, you have to opt out of healthcare at your university. Otherwise, you pay like $600 per quarter, and then you have two healthcare things, and you might not even know that you have the UCI one. And that was my mistake. So don't waste your parents' money. And it's really bad because I feel like they don't tell you. They automatically enroll you in the school's healthcare, and you have to opt out by like a certain deadline. And they don't tell you when the deadline is. You have to look for it yourself because they want your money, period.
Yeah, to piggyback on that, please opt out if you are still on your parents' insurance. And like if there's anything that you can are able to opt out on that you know that you can provide for yourself, do it because it's just gonna like you're giving, excuse my French, but you're already giving a shitload of money to go to the school. Like there's no reason that you should be giving more money for something you could already do yourself. So please, um, yeah, so opt out of that healthcare thing because I was, yes.
To add on, I know a lot of students opt out of the food plan. I personally am in the food plan just for my first year, just because like kind of makes life a little bit easier. Technically, actually, it really doesn't. You're literally paying money to the school, and that same amount is going towards like food, and like then you have to use that money to like buy food from like the food places on campus when you could just like make your own food. It is a little bit more difficult. It is more independence, but some people love it, and I think I'm going to do that next year. To answer the last question really quickly, of like balancing work and school, definitely time management. I'm a type of person who like does really well if I have a lot of things going on. That's just me. So you need to look at your priorities and what is possible for you. And if it's too much, take stuff off your plate. You're human. You don't want to burn out. I used to burn out every single quarter in Anza, and I regret that because it sucked. I needed like a week to recover, at least. So definitely time management. Your planner is your best friend. Buy a good planner. Google Calendar on your phone and computer, alerts, also amazing. And definitely just be easy on yourself. Put your mental health first. Uh, school is school, but you are more important. So remember that.
Alrighty, 47, 46, 45 more seconds. Anything else before we leave? Nope. Alrighty.
Oh, thank you all for coming to this. Yeah, oh,
Yeah, no, go ahead.
thank you all for coming to this rigor. That's all I want to say.
Yeah. Thank you
Oh, I'll put my link in the chat if anyone wants to connect on LinkedIn and like has any questions.
Yes, thank you guys so much. Thank you everyone who attended. Thank you to our wonderful panelists. Very insightful advice. We really appreciate you guys coming back to share your experience and knowledge with us. So yeah, thank you so much. Alrighty, bye guys.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. We hope you had a great time getting to listen to the panelists speak in there. So we're going to move on to our last section of the day, and we're going to ask one question to all of our panelists. And then you guys can go in the order that you went in the beginning. And the question is there anything that you wish you had done differently throughout your entire transfer process? whether that was at De Anza or while you were doing your applications, or even after you transferred?
Yeah, so I'll just go first. And people in my breakout room kind of heard me already touch on it for a little bit. But I think what happened during my last few courses at De Anza is that I really stopped reflecting on what I was doing, why I was doing, and how it like added value to my life. I completely stopped journaling, and I'd been journaling for years, and that was something that I really did regularly, but I just really fell out of it. And I think that would have helped me so much in, being sentimental about my De Anza experience, really being able to look back and think, oh, I loved that part. I loved that day and that conversation that I had. And it would have helped me with my application process because I'm so sure that a lot of things that I could have journaled about and had the time to, marinate on would have been really great for my application essays. And it would have taken out a lot of stress from like having to sit down in crunch time and like think through my entire life. So, and I think because of that, I would have given myself more downtime, more rest time, more time to like physically take care of myself, and then, mentally give myself the space to reflect. I'm in a reflective mood at the moment. So yeah.
I kind of want to echo some of what Yutong said. I think that it's really, really important to just slow down while you're at the Anza. There is, I like everybody goes, most people go to community college with the goal of transferring. You go for 2 years, 1 year, 3 years, and you leave, right? It's a commuter school. That's the purpose of community college in some ways. But it is really important to take advantage of your time at the Anza because again, like you don't know what you have until it's gone. Like I find so many times I'm at Berkeley and I just catch myself thinking like, wow, I wish I was back at the Anza. Like there's some moment where I'm like, oh, I wish that I could have experienced this more at the Anza. I wish I could have fostered those connections there. And I think that community college is so valuable. It's so different. It's so unlike any other experience that you will have in education. And I think it's really, really important to make sure that you gain those insights and valuable experiences before leaving. Because I know that it's like always a goal to transfer as soon as possible and orient everything that you're doing at community college towards transferring because that's kind of what you're there for. But there's a lot more to community college than just transferring. I think that is extremely important to realize, and I wish that I would have taken advantage of those experiences outside of the whole realm of transferring. Because you really do start to miss it. I really miss De Anza. Even though I love Berkeley, I love my school, I really do miss De Anza and some of the more intimate aspects of community college for sure.
Oh my God. Am I sorry. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that we touched on a lot of topics in terms of like, looking back, community college is just like really an opportunity to just make the most in terms of the resources that you have. And so like meeting your professors, going to tutoring sessions, all these opportunities are there. And looking back, I think that I was happy with the time that I spent at De Anza, and it's just kind of taking in that experience and just kind of keeping yourself accountable for all the things that you have to do. Transferring, to be honest, to UC Berkeley, I was just amazed by all the people and everything was great, but looking back, I think I didn't take advantage of the resources that I necessarily wanted to take advantage of just because there's a lot going on. And so just really honing in on what you're really passionate about and taking advantage of resources in line with those and keeping those values. Like when you transfer, I feel like you're in this new environment where people have different values, different things, and just sticking to kind of who you were in community college and what's important to you, I think is so important because things do change once you move on. And I, really missed that version of myself to an extent in community college where I was just like so excited to learn about anything. Like now I'm more particular about certain topics versus others, or just things like that. Just keeping true to yourself, I think, is very important.
Yeah, I want to resonate with what Yutong mentioned. I used to see downtime as like being lazy or like, oh, I had to keep studying. I had to keep getting new things to like and transfer out. But now I'm beginning to see like downtime as an investment, because life's a marathon, right? You don't have to go fast. You just go slow at your own pace, but you just go far. So I don't regret whatever I did back in Anza, because they made me who I am today. But I think one tip I want to say is it's good to explore a lot of opportunities, but know that when you're committing to the opportunities, all of them take time, and you only have 24 hours in a day. So it's important to commit to the few that you feel passionate about. It's good to explore a lot, like, okay, attend these club meetings and stuff, but ultimately just commit to a few that you're passionate about.
Okay, I guess I can go next. So for me, I guess it's mostly the same thing. I feel like I was hyper focused on transferring, and I didn't see the bigger picture. So I kind of saw it as a 2-year timeline from starting the Anza to transferring. It's a much bigger timeline. Once you after you transfer, you kind of realize that. So as a CS major, I kind of wish I'd learned some skills as a freshman at De Anza instead of now as a junior at UCLA. So I'd say, start thinking about those skills past De Anza, past transferring, past essays, past getting good grades in class, because those skills that you get aren't always the same as the skills you need for a job in the industry. And, you should start thinking about that early, because the people already at your transfer institution have been thinking about that stuff since they were freshmen, because they didn't have to worry about transferring at all, whereas you did. So yeah, that's probably my biggest advice. My second biggest is, and my second biggest regret, I'd say, is worrying too much about college decisions. The second semester at De Anza, like Yutong said, I'd say it was probably the most stressed I've been in a while, and I kind of lost sight of like some personal things I did as well. Staying healthy mentally, and I think I let decisions control me, which is you should never let that happen. At the end of the day, they're just universities. And I think there's like a stat that they take like 5 to 6 minutes to read your application. So you shouldn't put too much worth in something which takes that little time. So yeah, that's my regret.
I'll go. Something that I wish I'd done was probably just take the time and reflect on like my years at De Anza. Like, we all came here first quarter probably like super confused and didn't know what to expect, and then suddenly at the end of our 2 years we're like experienced, we're all like chilling and making friends, and now we're like moving all of a sudden and our environment's changing. But I think I just, yeah, like probably like just take the time to slow down, definitely slow down, and be proud of the journey that you've had, and remember that the journey will never stop. Sounds really cliche, but your work will continue in whatever school that you transfer to, and just take the time and give yourself a pat on the back and just be happy with all the decisions that you've taken, and just take the time to relax.
I agree with what the panelists before me have said as well. I think just to add just one little thing after that, one question that I sometimes ask myself is, to what end? Like, what is the end goal? And, keeping your end goal there, the end goal isn't transferring, it's something, larger than that. So keeping that in mind can help reduce stress and help you focus on the things that are really important in your life. More specifically, something I wish I did differently at De Anza was talk to my professors more, because at UC Irvine, I found professors and mentors who were really helpful. And I wish I did that at at De Anza as well, because the De Anza professors aren't doing like a bunch of other sort of like extracurricular stuff. They're really focused on teaching. So sometimes community college professors are more free to help you and more willing to help you. So do talk to those professors at De Anza.
I'm just gonna say going last is kind of hard because everyone has said really good advice. So I'm gonna say similar things in different fonts. One, definitely do not define your worth on the college acceptances and like whatever comes out. You're gonna get rejected throughout your life, be it like college applications, be it your crush, be it like a club, be like a job. But basically, they're gonna come and go, and it's not gonna be the end of your life. It's gonna feel really shitty in the moment, but eat a pint of ice cream and then like get back up because it does not define your worth. If any school rejects you, it's their loss. Like, lack of a better phrase, like screw them. It's like many have said, they basically spend like 2 minutes max reading your application, and you don't know if they've had a bad day. If they've had a bad day, then they might read your application in a certain way, and that's not on you. That's definitely not on you. So I would definitely say take time to process it, and then be like, look in the mirror, do some affirmations, and be like, I am a very good person. I am smart, I'm intelligent, I'm amazing, and this does not define me. And it's just a stupid school, and I'm moving on. And the school that I go to is going to be the one that's going to be good for me. And so that's the first thing I'm going to say. And the second thing I'm going to say is definitely just be proud of yourself. I know it sounds like really cheesy, but at De Anza especially, it can sometimes feel like you're on a solo track, you're by yourself, and you're like just trying to like race down this transfer journey. And it kind of can feel also competitive. It's like, especially when applications come out, acceptances come out, people are asking you consistently, like, hey, did you get in here? Did you get in here? Oh shit, Davis, like acceptances came out. Did you get in there? And you're like, damn, like, can I at least have a moment to process this? Like, I'm stressed. And because as a human, you put worth on these things coming out, which personally I did, it can be really a lot of pressure. So take a moment, take a couple of deep breaths, maybe just do something you enjoy for yourself, and remember to be proud of yourself, because it's not the end of the world, and it's also just this little tick in your journey of your entire life. It's a small step in your long journey of who you're going to be. And so it's not the end of the world, one, and two, it's going to be okay. Like, you all are very capable human beings, and we all make mistakes. We all made mistakes in our transfer journey. I, for one, I made a lot of mistakes. And that's fine. That's a human trait. And you're going to be okay. Like, we all ended up somewhere, and we're all happy in some capacity. So you're going to be totally fine. So just be proud of yourself and take time for yourself.
Okay, mine will be as inspirational or very beautiful as that. I would just say, like, do something that genuinely interests you, whether it's like some kind of hobby or like some topic, like just go and do that. Because I wish that I took time for like things that I genuinely liked. Because I feel like right now at community college, it's like a good time to like explore your interests and just discover yourself as a person, because I feel like we're always like in such like a go move, like what's next, what do I have to do now? And it's just like you need to like just breathe a little bit, because you just came out of high school thinking about all these AP exams, college exams, college apps and stuff, and then now you're gonna think about transferring and stuff. But like even after you transfer and stuff, you will still be on like that journey. But I feel like it's nice to like actually take the time and enjoy the process of discovering yourself, because I feel like once you're like older and stuff, it's kind of a little bit harder to do that. And it's like, oh, by now like I have a job, or like I have to apply to graduate school, and it's like really like later on in your life. So doing that now, I feel like it's a nice way to slow down, like everyone else said before.
And I also want to highlight that you don't need to have some extravagant eye-opening experience in your life that's so interesting to like please like whoever's reading your essay. Like I remember that I was stressing out about that so much because I had like no like great experiences like compared to other people. I've heard other stories and their lives just sounds like very like so inspirational and stuff. Like I was in like a privileged position where I didn't have to go through anything like traumatic or like super hard for my family. So I thought I literally had like nothing to write about and I would be like super boring. But honestly, like your own experiences, whatever that you've been through, haven't been through, like your experiences are valid, and college apps literally do not define that at all. And down the line, like you're gonna forget about it, everyone else is gonna forget about it, so it's really like not worth stressing out so much about it right now. And yeah, whatever happens, like you guys will get through this, and one way or another things will work out in the end.
All right. Thank you all for such wise words. I think we all needed to hear that sort of empowerment and reassurance that like no matter what track you think you're on right now, like this is the place and you're doing what you need to be doing. So don't be too hard on yourself. And yeah, just enjoy your time while you're at De Anza. Okay, we can stop recording here. Okay, and then we have some last couple of things before we end. So we have our other two panels happening next week and the week after that. So next week is our CSU panel, also happening from 4 to 6 p.m. And then November 13th is our private schools panel, also from 4 to 6 p.m. And our podcast committee is doing a couple of episodes, and they have one that's called Spilling Major Tea. And that's a pun on your major. So if you're interested in sharing about like what your major is like and what it's like to study that area at De Anza, you can sign up to speak on it. And if you're an alumni, we have a podcast called Choices, Deciding Where to Transfer. So you can also sign up to speak on that. And both of them, or Spilling Major Tea closes tonight. Choices closes later, and you can find our Spotify in the link below, so you guys can go ahead and listen to us. We already have a couple episodes up. And then one last thing before we go, if you could all turn your cameras on really quickly so we can get a picture together to commemorate tonight's event, if you're able to, of course.
Yes, someone will paste in chat and contact information about the panelists. If you don't see a name, it's because you're not comfortable sharing the information. So please don't message him privately or on Instagram, or I don't know, stalking them, please. Okay, we're gonna take a quick picture. If you can turn on your camera, if not, that's totally fine. Don't stress about it. All right, there are 2 pages of people, so we're gonna take a couple. Okay, I'll give you 10 seconds. Okay, are we done? Okay, I'll take a picture. Okay, I'll count down. 1, 2, 3. All right, let me move to the next page. All right, 1, 2, 3. Oh wow, amazing! It looks so beautiful. Rose, we can keep going. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, and that's basically all for tonight. Once again, we'd like to give a really big round of applause to our panelists for helping us out tonight and sharing their experience and their advice. So show them some love in the chat or with your reactions. We really appreciate you guys coming to help us out. Yeah, and then that's basically all. Thank you everyone who attended, of course. We hope that you had a great time and you learned a lot. Yeah, and that's basically it. Have a great weekend and happy Halloween.
Yes, and for the panelists, if you could stay for 2 minutes, if not, I'm gonna email you all the information, but you're free to go. Oh.
And we're gonna copy and paste it in the chat.
Oh, okay, yes. If not, for the people watching this, we're gonna send it over email as well. All right, thanks for coming. I don't know why it's still recording, even though I paused and stopped. I don't know who's recording.
Wait, yeah, I don't know who's recording either.
Megan, are you recording?
Was it you, Megan?
Please tell me it's not you.
Hold on, it might be me. Hold on.